Koos dropped us an email and said, listen, he locked in some profits at Kumba at 500 Rand. He sold out whatever he had, and because he thought it's a nice psychological level. And he thinks that he must buy back in because he thinks that the stock can maybe go even higher. Now, of course, if we look at the chart, I mean, this stock had a beautiful rally from 400 Rand to 530 in, you can almost say, in 3 months. That's a beautiful rally. But, of course, what I'm worried about is I'm seeing this rising wedge that's developing here. There's the support line that's keeping this stock on the go. And every time that it bounces off that line, and I'll show you now, it gives us a beautiful rally. Let's have a look here. There's the line. Okay. There's a rising wedge that's developing over time. Since about May, every time it bounces off the support, rallies to this resistance, come back, bounces off the support, rallies up. But what I don't like about the stock at the moment, and I've usually got a rule, if I've locked in my profit, I'll leave the stock out for a while and wait for a proper pullback before I will buy again. But I mean, if you chase momentum, it's a different story. But what I don't like about it, look at this, what we call either an inverse hammer, and I will maybe see it also as a gravestone doji. Now, that tells me that there's some uncertainty and that there's maybe some sellers around this 520 Rand level. And of course, this rising wedge, unfortunately, at the point where you locked in your profit close to 500 Rand, the level is, there's the exact level, 503.95. This rising wedge will probably break down and it will give us a move down to close to 476. Yes, if you want to buy there, let's just show you. There's the projection from the width of this rising wedge. If I project it downwards, you can take the stock down as low as 472.68. Yes, maybe there it's time to buy it. And what do we see here? If we just go a little bit down the road and we see at the previous period, every time that the stock got to this 480, it was sold off. So yes, if it gets to that 476 level, there you are. Just want to draw in this line. There you are. If you look at this 480 level, if it comes back there, maybe it can bounce off there. But I think if you've locked in your profit, and I'm seeing this rising wedge, I'm a little bit nervous just to go in and buy it straight away. Well, the other big question always is Sasol. Everybody is asking about Sasol. And the reason why everybody is asking about Sasol, because remember, this was a darling of the market. And this stock really just showed us that it can just go higher in years. But now suddenly it's a complete different story. I mean, everybody hates the counter. They're not happy with what happened in that Lake Charles project. And I can remember that I was so worried about the stock many months ago because I saw this ugly head and shoulder formation. Let's just maybe show you. That was my biggest worry. There you are. This head and shoulder was brewing for quite a while now, since middle of 2018. There's the left shoulder, there's the massive head. Then it had a beautiful rally, and we thought, okay, that this head, inverse head, this head and shoulder will be wiped off the table, and then it fell off the cliff. What I don't like about this stock is look what we see here. There's the neckline. The neckline sits at 379.76, and look what it happened. It went up, it tested it, and it went down all the way, and now it's making lower highs. And there you are. There's the high, there's a lower high, and it's still going down. I'm still a little bit nervous on Sasol. Doesn't matter who's saying what, because what I'm saying to myself, if this play out, and I really hope that I'm completely wrong, and I've said it many a time on the show, especially with Sasol, because it's such a darling of the market. Let's just show you. The first conservative target of this inverse head and shoulder will be 307.38, and if it plays out to the full, it can take this beautiful company all the way down to 217 Rand and 18 cents. So I would say, if you have got the stock, be nervous, because the stock is making, every time it gives us a little bit of a bounce, it takes a new low out, and that's negative. So for me, I'll be nervous, but when will I start to buy? Because we know that a company like Sasol will eventually turn around. They've still got some good management, they've still got a wonderful product, and they've got wonderful products. I will only buy when this neckline turns into a support again. I will not buy before then. I would rather give the chance, the stock chance to settle, consolidate, or go even lower before I'll buy. And my buy will be at 380.88, and my stop loss at this point in time will be 345.73. And because it's such a strong move to the downside, and the momentum is clearly to the downside, I will not go in full. And this is the message of today. I think the market is at the point where we need not to put all our money in at once. And the other big thing is, and I'm just going to look at the chart now, our market has got a few stocks that's holding our market up. There's some of the old favorites that's really struggling. Now let's have a look at the S&P 500. And this is my biggest worry, because this index is almost holding the rest of the world up. Now the S&P 500 reached 3,000 last night. Now if you look at this chart, look at this beautiful rally. I mean, this stock this index is flying, and it's going higher and higher and higher. And if I use this line, and I showed it before, there's this inverse head and shoulder on the S&P 500. There's the left shoulder, there's the head, there's the right shoulder, and it breached this level now. And this S&P 500 can easily go to 3,200, or even if it carries on to 3,400, and that's scary. But the problem is the rest of the world is not participating in it. It's almost just the S&P going and the Dow Jones going ahead and the Nasdaq, but the rest of the world is nervous. So somebody is going to be right. Either the S&P is going to turn all the indexes around and take the whole world higher, or the S&P is going to see that the rest of the world is already cooling off, and if their economy starts to struggle, it can turn around. But this chart looks like it still wants to go higher. We tested 3,000 now. We will see if we can go even higher than that. And if we look at the 40-week moving average, and remember this is a weekly chart. If we look at the 40-week moving average, I just want to throw it in there. 40-week moving average. What do we see? Every time that the index gets close to this 40, it's not long, then it rallies up from there. It happened here exactly. And this 40-week moving average is consolidating now. So it's either going to start to lift its head and take the index higher, or this this index is going to come back to this 40-week moving average and test it again. So the first warning signal for the S&P 500, believe it or not, is only below this right shoulder's low. And there you are. And that will be only below 2,720. While it's above that, the momentum in the S&P 500 is clearly to the upside. And don't think that you must just go in and be nervous, because the momentum is still up. But I think it may be a little bit late to go in and buy it again now, because usually what we see, look what happens, the moment it rallies too far away from this 40-week, it will pull back. Same there, it will pull back, and we're almost at this point again that we'll probably see a pullback not far from here, but the momentum is still to the upside. Let's have a look at the old arc of the market. I showed the stock before, it caught my eye, and again it is PPC. And Stefan asked about PPC because he's in the construction sector, and he said, listen, we're struggling just to keep our jobs, but it looks like PPC is giving some early signs of strength. Well, he's quite right. Look what happened to PPC. Since May last year, it fell from 9 Rand to just above 4.50 Rand, so around 4.70 Rand. Now suddenly you see a tiny little double bottom here. There's the low, and there's another low, and this happened at 4.55 Rand. Let's maybe just use the line there. Then you can see. There's the double bottom. There's the low, came back, another low. We call this a double bottom. And where will this be confirmed? It will be confirmed above this line there. There's the resistance. And what I like about this chart, although everybody is believing that the construction sector is going to remain under pressure for quite a while, this is 100% at the same point with this resistance line, the 40-week moving average. So for PPC, it will give me a buying signal above 5 Rand $5.38. This is exactly where this 40-week moving average, and it's now trading at $5.23. So if you buy, and you buy above $5.38, make use of the stop loss of $4.54. It's again a big stop loss. So don't go into big. And remember, as we all know, that the construction sector is under immense pressure. There's almost no building going around. But this chart tells us that there's something on the boil here. It's at least consolidating. And we also know that PPC is not just involved in South Africa. They're also involved in Africa. And strangely enough, there's a few countries suddenly that's appearing that there's things turning around there. Ghana is one, Kenya is another one, Ethiopia is another one, and it looks like their politics are sort of stabilizing, their economies are growing, and it looks like they're starting to do the right things. And this is one of the companies, PPC, that maybe can benefit from that. And it's quite interesting that sometimes well in advance, let's maybe see if there's some volume. I'm just thinking about that now. Maybe if there's a little bit of volume, then it tells you that there's some of the bigger players is already interested in the stock. Well, not really. There was a spike in volume. No, the volume is almost stable here. I don't think that's happened already. And if we just want to do, let's do an on-balance volume to see if there's some of the institutional investors already nibbling on the stock. Let's see if we can get that. There you are. The volume is not impressive. On-balance volume also not. So it just shows you that the stock is not on the charts yet. But for me personally, above 538, it will look positive. Stick to your stop loss, and the momentum can take the stock all the way up to 582. And if it reached its full target, this double bottom, it can go to R6.16. Well, once again, thank you for watching the show. Visit our website www.fransdeklerk.com for more services.